My fiance texted me the night before our wedding saying it's off because she needs closure with her ex. I replied, take a lifetime, canceled the venue, took the honeymoon flight alone, blocked her everywhere, and watched her panic when she realized he had already moved on. I was 29, getting ready for what was supposed to be the biggest day of my life. Yet everything fell apart with one message that arrived minutes before midnight. The rehearsal dinner had been wonderful, filled with loud laughter, warm stories, and a room full of people who believed they'd be watching us exchange vows the next afternoon. Her bridesmaids shared sweet memories. My groomsmen made jokes at my expense, and the entire evening carried the easy joy of a celebration that felt secure. We left around 10, driving separate cars because tradition said we should sleep apart before the ceremony. She returned to her parents' home, while I went back to the apartment that was technically mine even though she spent most nights there. She had a drawer of clothes, a toothbrush beside mine, a few decorative pillows she claimed made the place feel like a home, yet her mail still went to her place across town. That small detail would matter much later. By 10:45, I had settled onto my couch with a glass of whiskey. Tomorrow I was supposed to become a husband. Instead of feeling nervous or excited, I mostly felt exhausted from months of planning a $53,000 event. We split costs evenly, her parents contributing $10,000, mine contributing $8,000, and the remaining total divided between us. My share alone had been $17,500. That fact, too, would become important. At 11:43, my phone buzzed. A message from Natalie, the woman I expected to marry in 14 hours. Can we talk? Something in my chest tightened. I called her immediately. Her voice trembled. Not from sadness, not from fear, but something else I couldn't name. She asked me to come to her parents' house. I should have known right then that something was wrong. I drove 20 minutes through silent streets until I saw her sitting barefoot on the porch, still wearing her rehearsal dinner dress. She didn't look at me. She just stared straight ahead and told me she'd seen her ex, Ryan, earlier that day. A man she hadn't dated in 8 years. A name I rarely even heard during our 4 years together. She told me he'd given her his number. She told me he'd texted later asking if she wanted to talk. She told me he suggested they could get closure before she started a new chapter. Her voice shook when she admitted that his words made her think. Then she said it. The sentence that made my heart turn into stone. I think I need to see him before the wedding to get closure. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She told me he invited her to his family's lake house for the weekend. The same weekend we were supposed to get married. I asked her why she needed to go. She said she needed to know whether what they had was real or whether it was something she had romanticized. She needed to be sure. She needed to think. She needed to think about whether she wanted me or a man from almost a decade ago. I left without another word. At 1:47 in the morning, the message arrived. The wedding is off. I need to spend the weekend with my ex for closure before I commit. I replied, take a lifetime. Then I blocked her everywhere. And after that, I did what needed to be done. I called the venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the DJ, every vendor I could think of. I canceled everything I could cancel. I accepted the money we would lose. I gathered every item she kept at my apartment and packed them into boxes. I texted her mother and told her to pick them up. By sunrise, the wedding that should have happened was already a memory. By that afternoon, my phone was flooded with calls from family and friends. They wanted explanations. They wanted details. They wanted to know how something so perfect could collapse so fast. I told them the truth. She chose closure with her ex over a life with me. By evening, she was leaving voicemails crying, begging me to answer. She said she'd made a mistake. She said she wanted to come home. I deleted every message. The next morning, I changed the locks. And 2 days later, I boarded the flight to Maui alone. The honeymoon flight she was supposed to sit beside me on. I landed in Maui 7 hours later, alone, yet not lonely. The sun was setting over turquoise water, casting a golden glow across the beach as I stepped out of the airport. I felt a sense of freedom I had never known, a relief that surpassed any wedding day joy I could have imagined. The honeymoon suite was ours, or rather mine now, with a king-sized bed, ocean view balcony, jacuzzi tub, and all the little luxuries we had planned together. But for once, I didn't feel the need to share them. This time, they were just for me. I changed into swim trunks and walked straight into the ocean, feeling the waves kiss my legs and the salt water wash away months of stress, anxiety, and betrayal. I sat in the water until the sun sank below the horizon, and for the first time in years, I didn't think about Natalie, didn't think about the wedding, didn't think about the money or the drama. I just existed. Maui became my sanctuary, my proof that life could move on beautifully even when everything you planned fell apart. Each day was my own. I woke late, drank coffee on the balcony, watched waves crash against the shore, read my thriller novels, snorkeled among sea turtles, took helicopter tours, drove the road to Hana stopping at every waterfall, ate fresh pineapple, tried poke for the first time, and dined at new restaurants each night. I spoke to almost no one unless absolutely necessary. Bartenders checked on me, but I smiled and told them I was perfectly fine. It was peaceful, better than any wedding or marriage I could have imagined. It was freedom. When I finally returned, 6 days later, my phone exploded with messages, calls, and emails. I scrolled slowly, piecing together the chaos I had missed. Natalie had arrived at the lake house late Friday night only to discover Ryan and his fiancée Ashley were already there with family. Misunderstanding after misunderstanding, she had misread the situation entirely. Her breakdown, the driving back in the middle of the night, the desperate calls. All of it reached me in fragments from friends and family. But it no longer mattered. She had made her choice. I had made mine. I ignored every message. I let calls go to voicemail. I did not respond to her friends, her mother, or her pleas. The locks on my apartment had been changed permanently, and every item she had left was gone from my space. My apartment became mine completely, legally, and emotionally. And then, slowly, life resumed its ordinary flow. Work, gym, hobbies, friends. Everything that had taken a back seat during wedding planning got my full attention. I lost the weight wedding stress had gained, got stronger, and felt more like myself than I had in years. And then came Kara. Smart, funny, independent, with a dog named Rufus who stole my heart instantly. Our first meeting at a downtown cafe was effortless. Conversation flowed naturally for hours without awkwardness or past drama. She laughed at my stories, shared hers, and showed that relationships could be healthy, mutual, and honest. She paid for her coffee, for dinner, for everything without hesitation, and I knew from the third date that she was different. No ex-boyfriend ghosts, no panic before commitment, just a woman fully present, fully certain, fully herself. Meanwhile, Natalie's attempts to contact me continued in vain. Different numbers, social media accounts, messages through friends, all of them ignored. She claimed confusion, regret, and mistakes, but I knew better. What she did was not a mistake. It was a series of choices that led her to cancel our wedding for another man. That was her truth, not mine. I focused on Kara, on building something new, on experiencing a relationship where the other person chose me every day without hesitation. Months passed, and life became rich with normalcy. Kara moved in, bringing her belongings, her energy, her dog. We disposed of the decorative pillows Natalie left behind, bought new ones together, rearranged furniture, and created a home that was ours completely. There were no ghosts, no almost weddings, no half-remembered decisions. Just two people choosing each other every day. And when Natalie finally reached out from an unknown number with apologies and regret, I did not respond. She had shown me exactly who she was, and I believed her the first time. The wedding that never happened cost me $15,000. My solo honeymoon cost me $4,000. The changed locks were $300. But the lesson I learned was priceless. When someone shows you they are not sure about you, believe them the first time. Kara and I are 6 months into building our life together. She chose me, fully and without hesitation. I never looked back. The heartbreak from the wedding that never was became a story of freedom, strength, and true happiness. I took my honeymoon alone and found peace, and then I found love with someone who truly believed in me. The permanent kind of closure was all I needed. And that week in Maui, it was the best week of my life.